Welcome, everybody, to Stay Curious. I'm your host, Mark Marquette. We're so glad you've joined us this Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025, as we bring you some space history, an astronaut birthday, a look at a couple shuttles of the 11 that orbited in the month of September. And boy, there's one astronaut that flew three of his four missions in September. We'll talk about him in a minute. And welcome everybody here to our program. We're broadcasting live from the studios inside the American Space Museum in downtown Titusville, Florida, just a couple blocks away from the Indian River, where maybe you have seen a shuttle like this take off, or maybe one of the hundreds of SpaceX launches that we've seen in the last 7 years here on our Space Coast. Thank you for joining us. My co-producer Marty Winkle is on the Streamlabs board there. I'm putting my finger on my trigger here to see and hear your comments there on our YouTube channel, where we have over 4,000 uh, subscribers on the YouTube channel. So, thank you, RG Jubilee, for joining today. And Dave Stengy's on today. Thank you all. Doug Forrest is there in Los Angeles watching today's show. And yes, I look a little bit dapper today as I've been taking care of business outside the museum. The Titusville Chamber of Commerce had an economic summit based on the space industry here this morning, and for brunch up to lunch, and had a good time hearing some great speakers, some of the leaders of ULA, Boeing, NASA, of course, there. SpaceX represented, Blue Origin, all talking about the optimism of this space coast just being super duper utilized. Uh, talk about that just a second here. Want to give a nice shout out to our sponsor, Bid Again Auctions, and Chuck Jeffrey sponsoring Stay Curious. Thank you, Chuck, for your generous contribution to our show, as well as what you do for our museum. If you have any idea of what you may have, or grandpa has, or grandma, or your aunt or uncle from the space program, whether it's authentic and what it's worth, Chuck will tell you right up front about it. You may text him things if you're even out of the country. So, and we just completed a successful 39th auction under Chuck's Bid Again Auctions company there. So, greetings from Colorado, says Man Space. Of course, that's Mitch Rothman. He is going to be in our museum. He says the 8th or 9th there. So good. I'm going to take a break and go take care of some business in the great state of Tennessee, up in the Blue Ridge Mountain area of it near Asheville. But I'll be back next week. Meanwhile, Marty will choose some reruns to do for y'all to enjoy. And I've suggested we pull up Don Thomas, who is in our museum on Labor Day, talking to some Japanese students there. So here's the economic summit that I went to, Titusville Chamber of Commerce. Hats off to you, led by um, Aaron. Aaron Adkins, the president. She's been involved with it a long time, and her team just did a fabulous job. Big turnout there, and we had these 7 leaders of the business, and I'll bet you're going to see 4 or 5 of them on Stay Curious pretty well as I work the room, and of course, for the benefit of our nonprofit here. There I am with Stephanie Robinson, our board member on the right. Stephanie is involved with Career Source that we do use. They are a government agency that puts people in your workplace, and they pay for them, and then over a certain period of time, and then maybe you can hire them later. That's Mayor Andrew Connors there, and um, uh, Arnold Solomon is the gentleman there. So gotta put that call on hold there for a minute. But yes, Andrew Connors, newly elected mayor of the town of Titusville, very boots on the ground and proactive, supporting our American Space Museum in many ways, as we are one of the influencers at the beautiful Spaceview Park, where we want to turn a Saturday into farmers market and a lot of vendors, and just a big fun time on Saturdays. What we aim for there's one day this fall there. So Andrew, thank you for supporting the American Space Museum. He was on the show a couple months ago, and I said, would you please come back and update our viewers around the world about the hearings that were held on Starship the last couple weeks. What is the perspective from the mayor of Titusville? One thing that he did share with me is that they have to pay overtime, Marty, to police to watch the intersections during launches. Doesn't matter whether it's 2 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon. They have to put some crews out at the intersections because there's a lot of people that come in and watch the launches, and that's not budgeted in the taxpayers of Titusville budget for the city there. So he's looking at ways that maybe Space Florida, the government through the 45th Space Wing might be able to help defray those overtime costs. Of course, it's a big deal. We've got a lot more when we have crewed launches or important missions. And I saw a lot of pretty charts like this that talk about the launch cadence and what's going on here. This is one from the launch space Delta 45th Space Wing at Patrick Henry Air Force Base, Marty. And I mean, everybody's happy that Starship's coming. There was no naysayers about that. Of course, everybody also thinks that we're just hop, skip, and a jump for Artemis to launch. Artemis 2, no later than April is the official word. NL, no later than NLT. All right. It's no earlier than, but no later than April. And I think what I hear is they're targeting the end of February, hopefully. The Artemis 2 is fueled up. As far as the spaceship, and Orion is fueled up, ready to be integrated on top of the big Artemis rocket sometime this month, late this month, they say. That's a photograph from a GoPro that was on the solar panel as Artemis 1 passed by the moon. And it's actually going to be a little close. Artemis 1 went by closer than Artemis 2 is. Crew of 4 going. We'll have plenty of time to talk about that, and one day get to see astronauts orbiting the moon. Now, Artemis 3 is scheduled to be the landing, all right, but this Artemis 2 is just going to fly by for about 3,000 miles in deep space. They will go further behind the moon than any spacecraft's ever gone. And we'll just see how that all pans out. We need to take baby steps still to accomplish these dangerous goals in space there. So, hi, Gary Gerald, Steve Jokums, and Tom Usiak, Dean Babcock, Tom Celentano, and Robert Law joining us today. And when I was talking to some people about our humble podcast here, Mayor Connors interjected and said, there's people around the world that watch that podcast. You need to be on it. So, indeed, we're very proud of our international group here. So, let me take my jacket off here, get a little more comfortable, and maybe more normal, as it will, on there, as Florida is hardly ever jacket weather, but I do enjoy an opportunity to get out with the so many and wear a tie. A lot of people in the industry don't. It's just a sport coat and a nice shirt, pair of slacks. Saw some of the presenters today even wearing jeans, Marty. So, well, going back to the moon is something we desperately want to do, as this is an Apollo 17 view of near the South Pole, where, well, it's not actually near the South Pole because it was basically an equatorial orbit. 17 was where it landed, but we want to see some human eyeball seeing these. Happy birthday today. Turning 81 is a popular astronaut that, if you live around here and go out and see the astronauts at Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex, you will have met Woody Spring. Sherwood Clark. Woody, by nickname Spring, was born September 3rd, 1944 in Hartford, Connecticut, but he considers Eden Park in Cranston, Connecticut, his home, the Cranston Harmony Village. He graduated from Ponagansett High School in 1963. An Army man, U.S. Military Academy, 2 tours of duty as a pilot in Vietnam. Graduated in 1867 from West Point, Group 9 in 1980. And he flew STS 61B. There's Woody giving a talk the way he looks today. He forgoed that mustache. It was so characteristic of him. And but he did a spacewalk. I don't have a picture of that spacewalk in here, where he and Jerry, Jerry Ross. Yeah, Jerry Ross did a spacewalk. They put together some, like, not Legos, but more like Tinker Toys, to interlace some big poles and so forth with connectors, and put a flag on it and saluted it there. 61B was his one and done flight in November of 1965. We'll be talking about that in November. 3 communication satellites were launched and 2 EVAs. That's what the space truck was meant to do when it was launched in there. So here he is. Yes, there's Borelli. Hello to you, sir. And a great friend of the museum there, John Borelli. He's up there in Limestone, New York, and talked to him the other day. And there he is giving Woody a big old handshake out there. Marty, you've seen the guy. He's a very friendly guy, isn't he?
Both of them.
Yeah, both of them are. Yep. Yep. We'll see John here. He's anxious to come back for Artemis, but he'll be down here getting out of that snow one day down here. Well, happy birthday, Woody Spring, 81, an octogenarian. Well, this is the date in 1976 that Carl Sagan, the great popularizer of astronomy, he was an excellent astronomer from Cornell. He and his wife put together the Cosmos series on PBS, arguably the most popular and well done documentary of our solar system, certainly at that time. And everyone was enthralled with Cosmos. Died of cancer probably 15 years ago. But Viking 2 landed on Mars on September 3rd, 1967, to celebrate the bicentennial 200 years of America. Viking 1, its identical twin, landed July 20th, 1976. So launched separate by a couple of weeks. The Viking 1 lander was the first successful Mars lander in history. Viking 2 followed it. As you see, pretty big vehicle, had no wheels on it. It was stationary where it landed, had an arm and all kinds of weather station, and of course an array of scientific instruments, and the American flag there. As it looked over a desolate plain, I'm trying to see which, what they call this Martian plain there. I think this one's Utopia, where it landed. And there's an orbiter. Both of them had orbiters that worked for several years, returning all kinds of data that was the bedrock for future unmanned missions to Mars. Viking 2 also carried a biological experiment whose purpose was to look for life. All right. It had a positive reading for life, okay, that it detected some sort of outgassing when it added water to Martian soil, and that they thought was the result of abundance of organic compounds in the Martian soil. A lot of people have claimed it was a false positive for a variety of reasons. A lot of people say it was definitely positive for signs of life. And we had a wonderful lady whose name escapes me that talked about resurrecting the landings on Mars. I'll be in touch with her today because she's going around the world, around the country, popularizing Mars. And I didn't pull her name up, Marty. I can't remember it. But you Google Mars on our YouTube channel and she'll pop up.
Was it Kim? Kim?
Kim? No. It could be. But anyway, we dug into Mars, and they've never sent a probe of the other landers. 5 landers, American landers have followed. None of them had a probe on them to do what the Viking lander did. It was actually a gas chromatograph mass spectrometer. All right, a very good indicator for life in any kind of soil or anything. Lo and behold, throughout the mission, they would see frost develop around the Mars lander where it landed. But look at how rocky it was, and it was amazing that it even landed safely among all those rocks on there. So just incredible. But we if we're going to go to Mars, and everybody's talking about it and still talked about it at today's mini conference, this is what you're looking at in the safe places to land. Rocks everywhere. A lot of them spewed out of the gigantic volcanoes on one of the hemispheres of Mars up there. So, uh, of course, no atmosphere, thin atmosphere with no ultraviolet light protection like the Earth has the ozone layer. So the surface of Mars is sterilized like a microwave oven, and it produces highly reactive chemicals such as peroxides that they say were really the indicator for life and not any organic material or dead material in their outgassing. So, but perchlorate is now considered widespread on Mars, making it hard to detect any organic compounds on the surface. Okay, so, all right, we got a lot of fun talking about Mars. In fact, Mars is rising about sunset. It's a faint star. You really probably have to have a map or astronomer like me with you to point out where it is, but it's there, and we'll be looking at this fall, though it's over 40 million miles away from Earth right now. Well, let's look at the shuttle. Let's look at this one first. The space shuttles of the month of September. 11 beautiful shuttles launched in September. The breakdown is 4 for Atlantis, orbital vehicle 103. 104. 104 is Atlantis. OV 103 is Discovery. 4 for Discovery. In OV 105, Endeavour had 3 missions. A shutout for Columbia and Challenger in the month of September. 2 shuttles were launched on the same day of the month. That's my first letter there. As you see, 64 and 115 were launched on the 9th. And then we have 3 shuttles launched on the 12th of the month. STS 48, 47, and 51 there in the middle. All right. And we're going to talk about 69 and 106 today. But we've got to go into the first week of September, September 7th, before we get a first launch of a shuttle. And then you've got 3 of them the last few days of the month there at the bottom. But look at the missions we have, left to right. 69 was a Sparta mission. We've got 5 science payloads, 2 missions to the Mir space station, 2 ISS hard hat missions, 1 TDRS launch of a tracking data relay satellite, and 1 Space Lab J 47 there. So 69 Sparta, that was a science payload that they floated around there. We'll talk about the symbolism there in a minute. STS 106 was the International Space Station getting it ready for permanent occupancy in November of 1999. So this is, the year 2000. So we're celebrating the 25th anniversary in December. And this was 2000. Terry Wilcott's on that one, all right? And Terry's also on 2 other missions. One to Mir and one the radar mission at the end of the month there. So Spartan STS-64 was another spacecraft that was floated around to get data called Sparta. There was another one called Light. 115 at the far right, which that looks like it's on an aircraft carrier always to me, though that's a solar panel mission on the ISS. Joe Tanner, our Shuttlefest buddy, was on that one, as well as Heidi Piper, Stefan Yenshin Piper. Uh, and I enjoyed meeting her when I did. STS-48, a cool logo there, is the Upper Atmosphere Research Satellite. This in 1991 did the bedrock data for global climate change right now. STS-47 with the first African American woman, Mae Jemison, also had Morai, Japanese astronaut, and that had Space Lab on it. 51 in 1993 was the SPAS Orpheus satellites that were floated around there. I believe they did a couple spacewalks too. At the bottom, the four missions there, left to right, are STS-79, the handshake of Americans and Russians again on the fourth Mir space station mission. And then STS-86 was the seventh Mir space station mission in 1997, a year later. Almost a year later to the day. STS-26 was the return to flight after Challenger, very important mission for America there in 1988, September 29th. And the last mission of the month is STS-68, launched on the 30th there, a radar mapping mission where astronaut Mike Baker, the commander, and his pilot Terry Wilcutt had to put the shuttle in different profiles to use this radar that would penetrated below the Sahara Desert. They saw structures in the desert that they never knew were there, that type of stuff all around the world. I think they mapped 95% of the world there. Let's go to the videotape here. 11 shuttles lined up in a little bit of a chart like this. Why I do this is to see how many missions were in orbit at the same time, okay? And on the 12th of the month, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 space shuttles can say, filled with astronauts, can say on September 12th, I was orbiting the Earth. Right there, September 12th. Okay, you go up there. This is just the stack of the shuttles and their missions there. That includes 47 astronauts, all right, can say they were orbiting the Earth on that date. And 3 from 1991 to 1996 up there. So I enjoy doing things like this. One day we'll put them in a little booklet, like this little mission booklet I'm going to talk about here for the patches today there. So hope you enjoy looking back at space history like this. I certainly do, as it's a way to reinforce what we did in history and how active we were. We had 9 shuttles in the month of August. Now we're up to 11. 18 is the most, which I believe is November. All right. And this is STS-69 going out to the pad, the slow crawler way out there. And all of us are a lot familiar with when it goes the rocky crawler way, okay? But sometimes we're not so into, we forget about when it goes up the incline crawler way there, that the mobile launch platform has to stay level. So there's a series of jacks and so forth to do that on there. So that's a picture we don't see enough of there. And thank you for using that as a green screen, Marty. And of course, I learned here in my 8 years that structure behind is called the RSS. Of course, the remote service structure. All right. And very interesting engineering piece of work in itself. The STS crew patch symbolizes the multifaceted nature of this mission. The primary payload, the Wake Shield facility, is represented in the center of the hatch by the astronaut emblem against a flat disk. The astronaut emblem, which is the star on top there, also signifies the importance of humans in space exploration, reflected by the planned spacewalk supporting International Space Station assembly. The 2 stylized space shuttles highlight the ascent and entry phases of the mission, and along with the 2 spiral plumes symbolize a NASA first, the deployment and recovery on the same mission of two spacecraft, Wakefield and Sparta. The Wakefield was something they drug behind, going through space, that right behind the Wakefield would be a perfect vacuum because it's intercepting all the particles that are floating around the Earth, no matter seemingly how high up you go. And of course, the shuttle's at 125 miles. The constellations Canis Major and Canis Minor, the big dog and little dog, represent the astronomy objectives of the Sparta and the International Extreme Ultraviolet Hitchhiker payload, and symbolize the talents and dedications of the support personnel who make space shuttle missions possible. Artist Mark Pestana designed the patch, and with the 69, you see the spirals spiral into a 6 and then out into a 9. Very creative there, all right. We had David Walker, the commander, Ken Cockrell's the pilot. There we go. Walker's on the right, Cockrell's on the left. James Voss is on the right side in the EVA suit. Jim Newman there in the center. And Michael Gernhardt is on the left there. I don't think Newman did a spacewalk, though he's known for that, Marty. Let me look at a little more. This was also called the Dog Crew. Okay, Dog Crew 2. And I forget which is Dog Crew 1. Maybe Steve Jokums will help us out like that. Dean Babcock likes that. Steve said that the Viking 1 landed in the Chrissy Planitia, and Viking 2 landed in the Utopia Planitia, which is, I believe, what I said. How about that? I actually was right. And rotating service structure. He corrected my, what did I say?
Remote.
Oh, remote. Yeah. Sorry there. Can't get a word out wrong without somebody catching around here. But yeah, I meant rotating service structure. It's also pretty damn remote. Okay. So this 11-day mission, the crew deployed and retrieved the Sparta astronomy site, performed a 6-hour spacewalk to test tools and so forth in their payload bay. And I didn't look up the Dog Crew in my haste to throw this show together after a long business day. So, but they all had nicknames: Red Dog, Cujo, Dogface, Pluto, and Underdog. All right. They even had dog bowls with their name on them. Okay. Pluto was Newman there. You can call him Pluto next time we see him, Marty. I've been told, Marty, maybe you've heard this too. They always have a cake at one of these breakfasts or brunch or whatever it is for the launch. But somebody told me they'd never eat the cake. They put the cake in a freezer, and would they eat it when they come back, somebody said, or?
Yeah, I believe so. I know they don't eat it before. I think they get
Okay.
eat it when they get back.
All right. So, but there's the crew. There's the Sparta in space there. This was really a breakthrough to deploy a spacecraft, let it go maybe miles away from the space shuttle, and then you go up and pick it up again and bring it back to Earth. And there's one of the EVA walkers there. Who did the EVA on this? Well, that'd be Jerry Voss and Gernhardt there. They did one EVA, 6 hours, 46 minutes. This was Dave Walker's 4th and last flight, Cockrell's 2nd flight, James Voss 3rd of 5, I believe. This was the 2nd flight for Newman and the 1st flight for Gernhardt. So, beautiful shot. I like that shot. When I was looking at pictures, and then I thought, wow, talk about vertigo there. All right. The next shuttle that we'll talk about, and the last one today, STS-106. This was a very important mission to the very neophyte International Space Station. And let's look at the symbolism behind the patch there. Let me go to my 106 page of this beautiful book, Mission Patches there. 106, of course, is after 10. Which one's it after? 106 is, there's 105, then we have 104, 100, 102, 106 actually followed 101, and 106 was before 92 and 97. All right, 92 was when Duffy and Melroy went up to the ISS. All right, this is Terry Wilcutt, the commander. Scott Altman, the pilot. Both are top guns. All right. Daniel Burbank. Let's see what. It was Terry's fourth and last flight. Scott Altman's second of 4 flights. His next 2 missions were Hubble repair missions. Ed Lu, his second flight. This was Richard Mastracchio, Rick Mastracchio, his first flight. Dan Burbank, his first, and then 2 Russians that was on his second flight, Yuri Malenko, and then Boris Murokov, his only flight. The 106 patch is the first space shuttle mission to the International Space Station since the arrival of its newest component, the Russian-supplied service module, Zvezda. Zvezda is depicted on the crew patch mated with the already orbiting Node 1 Unity and the Russian-built functional cargo block called Zarya, with a Progress supply vehicle docked to the rear of the ISS. It is shown in orbit with Earth above, as it appears from the perspective of space. The astronaut office symbol, a star with 3 rays of light, provides a connection between the Space Shuttle Atlantis and the ISS, much the same as Space Shuttle program is linked to the ISS during its construction and future research operations. Stylized versions of the flags from Russia and the USA meet at the ISS. That's cool on the outside edges there. They symbolize both the cooperation and joint efforts of the 2 countries during the development and deployment of the permanent outpost in space, as well as the close relationship of American and Russian crew members. Peace in Earth orbit, not so much on the surface of the Earth. But 25 years of cooperation this fall with the Russians is an incredible achievement. We're in that 25 quarter of a century decade right now where we can show how scientists, astronauts, engineers, media from both countries can all work together for one common goal there. Well, the astronauts blasted off. Which pad did they blast off of? On September 8th, pad 39B was used for this launch here, daytime launch. They docked with the ISS a few days later. Docking with the ISS, what did that look like, you say? Well, I think I got the next picture. No, we're going to see the astronauts in space. All right, there's Terry Wilcutt in the middle. Scooter's on the right. Ed Lu is above Terry. Mastracchio, he's up there, the tallest in the back. And Daniel Burbank is mustachioed in the left there. And then you got the 2 Russians, Yuri and Borisov, And flying through space like Superman. So it's bright out, Terry. You got to put your shades on, brother. So that they had a lot of fun. What a staged picture, Marty. Almost the exact same picture there. And all they did was put out some... Now, I've met Scooter quite a few times. He would know me walking up to him. Terry Wilcutt, though, you've met him a lot, Marty. He's one of the regulars out at Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex. And we've got some good news that Terry Wilcutt wants to come to Shuttle Fest. There, we'll talk about that in a second, and Terry here in a minute. There is the International Space Station 25 years ago. The top model is... I get them mixed up. Top model is that's Harmony. That's our module. Unity. That's our docking module, Unity, that Terry was going to be docking to. And then you got Zarya and Zvezda. This is where the leaks are in the space station. Duh. It's 25 years of hardware, stresses and strains and so forth. But it's right in the heart of the International Space Station. I didn't put a big current station up there now. Visualize it in your mind. You see the whole football field of array of solar panels and stuff. There's Terry floating a bunch of expensive camera gear around him up there. This was the year 2000. Okay, basically we were set. We were really. I think some of these were film cameras still, though. All right, they may have had a few digital cameras up there. So there's Terry. Here's a cool shot of what looking from one of the modules, looking down to where it docked. Okay, how cool is that? Atlantis docked to the International Space Station in its infancy there. So the goal was to prepare Zvezda for the arrival of first residents or expedition crew later in the fall of 2000. That was Bill Shepard and Gidzinko and Kirkilov, launched on October 31st, 2000 for the International Space Station. All right. Now, if the stars would align, Marty, we would have Rick Mastracchio coming and Terry Wilcutt, both talking about this mission. There's the night landing with an infrared camera on it there. All right. Let's talk about Terrence Wade Wilcutt here. Giving Marty give me a fist pump there, Marty. Terry and you there. So I've only met him a couple times. He wouldn't really know me. He certainly know you and Bill Whiting and Tammy Miller and you all coming up there getting your autographs all the time. Terry was born when they launched to the International Space Station that he helped prepare. It was his birthday. He was born October 31st, 1949 in Russellville, Kentucky, but was raised in Louisville. A Halloween baby, Marty. How about that? And yes, comment about Terry there a minute.
Well, he's like a lot of the astronauts, like Mark. Just very friendly, I would say warm, just a nice person. Very easy to talk with. Really like him, as well as so many of the other astronauts we've met.
All right. There he is again with our friend from Limestone. All right. Hope you're doing well there. And see you here soon. Yeah, I'm trying to think of his name again there. Fleener.
John Burley.
John Borelli. Thank you, John Borelli. Been one of those days, and putting this together today was like, whew, I wish I'd had an astronomy show to do. Terry's awesome. A very fit man. He is going to be 81. No, he's going to be 76 years old, October 31st here. And one of our volunteers and great friends of this museum, Bill Whiting, was out there talking to him. There he is with Nick Thomas. Nick ran into him at a convenience store. Said, "Hey, what are you doing here? I need some milk for the, I want some chocolate milk to drink in my hotel." And so, but that shows you what kind of good guy he is there. A Top Gun. 4 space flights, twice a pilot, twice a commander. Okay, he flew with Mike Baker on the final mission of September launch-wise, STS-68. Baker was the commander, and Wilcutt was his pilot, and then Terry become pilot of 79, and the other one he flew on was STS-106 that we just were talking about as the commanders. So we will. Bill Whiting said when he talked about Shuttle Fest, those of you that have been to Shuttle Fest, before he could finish talking about it, Terry said, I'm coming. Just tell me when. I'm coming. So it's going to be June 19th here at the museum for a fundraising Friday, and then the 20th and 21st at the Cocoa Beach Hilton. And we will be unleashing to the hounds ticket sales and all that stuff. We got plenty of time. We're more than 8 months away, but we'll decide how many astronauts we're going to bring to Shuttle Fest. Terry, if he does confirm, and I'll get that email out today or tomorrow, is the 5th confirmed one. We have got definitely coming Mike Baker, who is just not twice a pilot, twice a commander, but also involved at the Star City, as we're going to talk Saturday about NASA at Star City, Russia, Americans on Russian spaceships. So we've got definitely Mike Baker committed. We've got, help me out there, Marty. Norm Thagard is committed to talk about his mirror experience there. We're going to give Norm a lot of love. Don Thomas is coming. He was a director of operations just like Mike Baker and 4 times astronaut.
Sid Gutierrez? Sid.
Oh, Sid, yeah. Sid Gutierrez has to reconfirm for June, but we've got Jose Hernandez putting us not confirmed. I'm just saying that the absolute confirmed ones are really just Thagard and Baker and Tom Jones. Okay, and Terry Wilcutt's got to confirm, but said he will. We've got probably no problem with.
Mark, you said Tom Jones. Did you mean Tom Jones or Don Thomas?
Tom Jones.
Is it okay?
Tom Jones is confirmed to come,
okay.
And Don Thomas. Okay, and then we've got your Nicole Stott. All right, we've got Katie Coleman wanting to come. We've got Sid Hernandez, no, Sid Gutierrez, and Sid wants to bring one of his crewmates. Sid's the chairman of the board for Via Space, and so they're going to support him coming here. So potential 8 astronauts already coming to Shuttle Fest, and we're going to talk our committee of like, one, what do we need to spend to bring them all in here? It's at least $1,000. An astronaut will be the average to bring in here. So we're in a happy place with Shuttle Fest 5. Thanks to all of you all supporting the first 4 Shuttle Fests. We're actually Shuttle Fest 2. I had a hard time getting an astronaut, and Bruce Melnick bailed me out there. And so 4 is becoming a good place for astronauts to want to come to. It'll be vacation time here on the Space Coast, and all kind of things going on. So, and Dave Stange likes the sound of all these astronauts coming. Celentano said 2 Connecticut natives, Mastracchio and Burbank. Okay, and you watched the launches from the press bleachers. Good for you, Tom Celentano, up there in Connecticut. And the dog crews were the ones that Dave Walker commanded. Thank you, Tom Usiak, for mentioning.
That was SCS-53. And it got his name because that was the last DOD mission. And it got nicknamed or called it the Dogs of War.
Oh, okay.
So they weren't called Dog 1, but...
Right, they couldn't call it Dogs of War. Yeah. So 53, all right, the last DOD mission, which had some Star Wars stuff that Mr. President Reagan recommended we rattle the cage of the Russians with, and we certainly did on about 8 missions. And Steve Jokums is already wanting to know when he can pay for it. Marty, you didn't say that, brother, but he's excited to come. And we're put a lot of committees together, and it's going to go from Mark's Lemonade Stand to a true brick and mortar event that you're all going to enjoy. And those of you that have been involved with it, like Chris Calley, Steve Jokum, so glad you come to it. Dave Stange, hopefully will be at it. So also moving it from April to June is going to allow a lot of people that couldn't come because April is a big wheelhouse for work time. And Gary Gerald, we can't wait for you to enjoy Shuttle Fest because he was always on a tractor or on the farm dealing with those delicious Vidalia onions that he grows and harvests up there in Georgia. So it's going to be a winner. It's just how can we layer things, and we'll definitely cut off a number of astronauts, and then if an astronaut wants to come, I don't want a whole panel after panel of astronauts. Maybe you do, but we still want to honor space workers as much as we can because that's what our museum's founded on. But it's turning out to be a good business model for a fundraiser for the American Space Museum. So, all right. That's our shuttles of the month of September. We'll talk about the other 9 shuttles as we go along the road here. But let's go out with today's show with a little bit of moonshine, okay? And the moon is I got an app for it, so let me just look up what my app of phases of the moon says today, that the moon is a waxing gibbous 10 days old. All right, the moon's 10 days old. I've got a beautiful app here that you can see shows the phase of the moon, details of it. It rises at 5:15 p.m. within the hour, sets at 3:35 a.m. So if it's 10 days old, it's going to be in the evening sky when you talk like an amateur astronomer. Okay, between the 7 is first quarter and 12 the gibbous phase. So you get out your binoculars that maybe you used at the high school football game last weekend, or maybe a college game, maybe birding. You hold them steady. You're not going to believe the craters along the line between night and day, the Terminator. It's going to be beautiful, all right, on there. And then full moon is coming September 7th. And there's an eclipse of the moon you're going to hear about that I don't think is visible from North America. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the 14-day-old moon is the full moon. So an opportunity to get a lot of moonshine this week. Go out there. It's a kind of moonshine you can't get too much of. And take a moon chart out there with you. You can download one, or there's things around the house like an app for that. And get the names of some of these wonderful features on the moon, all right? And check it out. Talking about the moon, we see in the upper left, that is what the moon looks like to us. That's the permanent phase that shapes us. These are 4 views of the moon, okay, from an orbiter, by the way, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiting composites here. So the upper left-hand corner is what we see mostly of the moon, but the back side of the moon is the upper right-hand, okay? I'm talking about, I apologize, it's below it there. The east side is if you took the top left corner and just turned it to the left a quarter degree, that's what you would see. So see the oval of Mercurium in the upper right? That is to the left there on that. So that's the right side of the moon. Bottom left is the back side of the moon that we don't say, but directly behind what we see from Earth. And the left side is the right over here, that's the left side of the moon right there. Also notice a feature here that's very interesting right there. That feature right there is Mare Oriental. And when I make it bigger, you're going to see there was an impact crater, that if that was facing us at certain lunar light, it would look like an eyeball looking at us there. So once again, top left is how we see the moon. Bottom left is the back side of the moon. Completely different. There's not this dark Maria on the back side of the moon. All right, why? Well, we really don't know. Maybe it's because when the rotation of the moon was sort of frozen and the permanent side faces us because of gravity, maybe it kind of sucked all of the liquid that was lying low on the lunar surface because of the bubbling lava that was going on. Maybe that's the reason. So, Marty, go ahead with the question there.
Okay, before the question, Mark, Mia is watching and she says hello.
Who?
Mia. Mia.
Oh, Mia. Oh, hi, Mia. We'll go out and see the moon, little Mia, today. You won't be disappointed. And get Grandpa to get you a little telescope, maybe. Let me go back to my Facebook here so I can see your comments myself. Oh, I guess I X'd out of that there. Let's go, not Facebook, YouTube.
Okay, RJ Jubilee is asking, are you going to show what the eyeballs are, the space shadows all about? And then she
Not
says,
today. We're not going to talk about the eyeballs until we have Eric Baker in here to talk about the eyeballs of the shuttle, and that's going to be later in the month. I'm teasing you, Rosalie, so we'll show it to you. But no, the eyeballs of the shuttle are something you want to know about. Little Mia's waving at me there. Thank you very much. And Robert Law's looking for flights for Shuttle Fest. That'll be June 19th there, Robert. We'd love to have you again. And Elena's sending us some love. Thank you very much, Elena. All right, so it's a good opportunity if you're a shutterbug, play with your camera a little bit. You get that twilight when the moon is visible against a tree. You'll start seeing leaves changing, maybe. This is the kind of shot that you want to get. This is the way the moon is going to look like tomorrow night, maybe about 11 days old. But move that telephone, and to get the balance of the photo of the Maria of the ocean, of the lava oceans frozen on the moon. That's the key to being a good photographer of the moon, is you just don't want to expose it and it looks just like a bright ball there, like a flashlight. You got to see the dark areas of the Maria to make it count. And on this palm tree with the sun setting behind me, nice and hot, got some highlights there, play around with it. That says the moon in Florida. And this says the moon over the ocean. This is about a day before full moon, okay? So full moon coming on, what am I saying, Tuesday next week? A couple days before, yeah, full moon is on Sunday. This Sunday's full moon, all right? You will want to see the day or two before is when there's still daylight out that you can capture, in my case, the ocean here as it's going above there. But if you really want to be far out, go to the moon like our friend Chris Calley and photograph the Earth from the background with the universe behind us there, as we end our Stay Curious program today with some beautiful piece of artwork from world-renowned artist and ASM partner Chris Calley. Thank you for all that you do to talk about and promote our museum, Chris, as all of you do. You're all of our best ambassadors out there, and we appreciate it a lot. And as I've got you teased a little bit for Shuttle Fest, as Shuttle Fest 5, as you can see, we're not going to have any problem having any astronauts there. It's just how we're going to layer the event to make it a very pleasurable event for the guests as well as the astronauts. And when I talked to Don Thomas about it, Don said, well, he kind of felt out of sorts, Marty, because we were talking about the Mir space station and astronauts. No, we were talking about the Hubble telescope is what Shuttle Fest 4 was about. And Hubble telescope was the theme for Saturday, and Sunday it was a theme for just shuttle astronauts. And Don Thomas presented the popular program of the STS 70 and the Woodpecker attack of the ET tank, is all Ohio crew there. So, but Don, we welcome you back. And I know some astronauts may come on their own dime just to hang out with some of their friends. So hope that it becomes that kind of popularity where astronauts can just feel like they're at home and at ease with you space lovers there. So thank you all for watching today. I will not be here tomorrow or Friday. Marty will be doing a reprise show that are popular. If you're new to the program, you'll want to watch it. Some of our top shows there. There goes my American flag on the floor. Time to shut up. So thank you. Huh?
Not time yet, because Mitch Rothman wants to know what's on your tie.
What's on my tie? Well, I got a little bit of the ketchup from the French fries that we no. What's on my tie? There's what's on my tie. Thank you, Mitch. He likes dressing up. Just kind of a Art Deca thing there uh, that I snatched off the tie rack that has been ignored all these years. So, Mitch, thank you, buddy. Give me a call. We'll look forward to seeing Mitch Rothman here at the museum. Maybe I'll even go down to Lake Wales where he lives and check him out next weekend. So, thank you all for supporting our program in so many ways. We have so many great ideas here at the museum. Our staff, also led by Gabriel Rothblatt, our executive director of the U.S. Space Walk of Fame Foundation. We are prudent trustees of your donations to our nonprofit. We don't take it lightly, from whatever you want to give us to $1,000, like the NASA Alumni League of Florida did to support our STEAM education program. So we'll find ways to use it in more ways than one, and we appreciate everybody supporting this program as we are making it more available to people around the world and listening to you for the content. So thank you, Marty, for a great job. Wish you well while I'm gone, but I'll stay in touch with you and still do my posts on Facebook and keep track of all my emails while I'm away. So until next time, I'm Mark Marquette saying, I can't wait to see you, Mitch Rothman, in the American Space Museum to bridge the space between us.